It helps to remember that our spiritual practice is not about accomplishing anything, not about winning or losing, but about ceasing to struggle and relaxing as it is. That is what we are doing when we sit down to meditate. That attitude spreads into the rest of our lives. Hi guys, welcome back to MimesMakeup. Today I'm going to be doing the long-awaited spirituality video. I feel like I've been saying I was going to film this for so long, and honestly my biggest delay was that I've given most of my books to other people to read, the books I wanted to show, so I figured I would just write them down and then put in a picture of them so you guys can buy them. I figured I'm probably never going to get them all back at once because they were different people. So basically I'm going to talk about my transition, my kind of spiritual journey throughout my life, going from being a Christian to a Buddhist, and why I did that, what inspired me, what I believe now, that kind of thing. I do have a couple of notes here. So I basically want to start by saying, disclaimer, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't judge anyone by their religion, what they believe, whether they have a religion, whether they don't. I'm not a judgmental person, especially when it comes to that. So please don't watch this video, one, if you're going to be offended by my beliefs, or don't watch and think that I'm judging anyone, especially when I talk about the Christianity side of things. Just because I'm saying that I eventually didn't agree doesn't mean that I'm going to judge you if you're Christian at all. So I'm just giving my honest opinion for people who want to know and maybe are in the same boat, and you know, just don't, if you're going to be offended, don't watch. Basically I have, except for my last school that I went to in high school, every school I went to was a Christian or Catholic school, and so my family isn't like that kind of family that a lot of the families at that school were, where you go to church every Sunday and that kind of thing. But of course when you're in that schooling environment, it kind of is like the norm to believe certain things and to go to youth groups and church occasionally and that kind of thing, and being surrounded by people of that faith obviously takes a toll on you and everything. So when I was going through a really hard time in, that was like year 7 or 8, I kind of became, I don't know, not like a, this is what kind of messes with my head a little. Like, I went to youth group and I, you know, got them, like, they bought me a Bible and tried to influence me, and I thought that that would fix my problems. I guess at that time, I don't know if I just wanted to fit in to what everyone else was doing, because these people that I was seeing at youth group and at church and at school, they just seemed like they had no issues, and I guess I had an explanation for that, and that was that they were followers of Jesus and that they were Christians, and they, you know, Jesus solved all their problems. And eventually, you know, when I opened up a little more, I guess they saw that my problems and my behaviour at the time was not for them. It didn't follow their books, and, you know, it wasn't, you know, I guess at that time as well as when I got my first boyfriend. So that's probably a good example, you know, going to youth group with a boyfriend, moving to a public school, and, you know, probably doing things I shouldn't have done. They no longer wanted to assist me with that. They just saw that I was, you know, it's too late to fix her, we won't care about her anymore, we'll just tell her off for everything she was doing. So at youth group I had a pretty hard time. It actually really, really hurts me to think about that time. I would never go back to that church again. Even if I was to become a Christian by chance, I would never return to there, because I just felt completely uncomfortable there. Like, I was just, you know, doomed to hell because of the decisions I was making, which were highly due to the situation that I was personally dealing with in my life. So, you know, along with that, I've always been someone who asks questions about what I'm being taught, what I'm being told. I always have questions, and my questions could never be answered, you know. Something that I remember from day one of going to a Christian school is, if Adam and Eve came before animals, where do dinosaurs fit in? You know, just that kind of logical stuff. And of course the moral, you know, condescending, hypocritical views of Christians sometimes. It's just, yeah, I'm not going to go into it because I don't want to offend anyone. The other thing that I really I don't know what the word is, like how it makes me feel, but people often, because I'm still friends on social media with a lot of these people, is they will give credit to Jesus or God for something that they've achieved. For example, I graduated uni, thank you God for helping me through, for doing this, thank you for giving me this opportunity. And it's like, yeah, it's really great to be grateful, but it's also something that you achieved. Why are you thanking someone else? Why don't you take the responsibility yourself, and thank, you know, for a minute, just say I'm proud of myself. I did this. I got through this, blah, blah, blah. And it's also the same when it goes with the bad situations. Like, God decided that this is what had to happen. You know, just placing the blame or the, you know, the situation in someone else when it's actually probably got to do with you more than anything that's in the sky. That's something that really frustrates me. And you know, not on a personal level, but I feel bad for these people because they don't thank themselves, they thank someone else for doing something that they've done. The thing that kind of upsets me is when, but I completely understand it from a personal view. I understand that when something tragic happens, you need some kind of closure. And for these people, I guess, thinking that this person's gone to heaven or that they're going to see this person in heaven again is their way of coping. But that also breaks my heart because I feel like these people don't actually learn to cope with what's happened because they just wait to meet them again. They don't actually say goodbye, they just say I'll see you soon. And while that's amazing to use that as your grief method, it's also really heartbreaking because, you know, what if there is no heaven and these people have waited all their lives to meet their family member, their boyfriend, their son, you know, to see them again, and it's not going to happen. So that's something that just really upsets me, and I feel sad every time I think that people wait for that their whole life and it may not happen. So that's just something, I guess, to think about. So I didn't have, you know, a belief for a long time, but I've always been a spiritual person. I've always believed in spirits and, you know, that kind of thing. I've always like longed for something to believe in because I don't think that there's no meaning to life. Like, I've always been someone who's open to ideas, and I really wish I had the book with me. But one time a friend and I went to a secondhand bookshop, and I don't know why, but I just looked in the spirituality section and I found this book called Why Buddhism by Vicky Mackenzie, and this book literally changed my life. This is where, when people ask me what got you into Buddhism and that kind of thing, this was it. So I bought the book, and I've never been a reader. My attention span is just very short. I went home and I remember sitting where I would never usually sit with a cup of tea, and I read the book. I started reading as soon as I got home, and I finished that book in 8 days. And that may seem like a long time for avid readers, but for me that was a massive accomplishment. My mum didn't even believe me because I just read that book. I could not put it down. It literally changed my life. So this book is, I can't remember, maybe like 7 or 8 stories of Buddhist people in the West. So talking about, obviously Buddhism comes from the east of the globe. And so it's talking about stories of people who have taken on Buddhism in their life in the West and how it's affected them, how it's changed their life, what their experience was like. And so instead of reading about the facts of Buddhism first, I read the stories and the impacts and the way that I've heard about the ways that it physically and mentally saved people and made their lives more fulfilling. So after I read that, I was inspired to then go and learn the facts. Definitely read that book. My mum's currently reading it, I hope, if you're watching this. I don't know, it even has stories of, you know, prisoners who become Buddhist, learn the Dharma, and they, you know, finally accept what they've done. Probably my biggest thing that I always questioned with my Christianity was, as I said, placing the blame on someone else. You know, I always, with my personal things, when I was in high school, like all the way till I was 15, I blamed all my depression, my issues on my dad not being there. And, you know, I always thought that it was his fault. I had so much anger inside me towards that. And when I reached out and reconnected with my dad, and now we have a bind relationship, it hasn't fixed anything, because I've learned now that you can't place your problems and blame on someone else. Like, yes, it may be their fault, but blaming someone is not going to do anything. Biggest thing for me was that Buddhism teaches that life is suffering. That's just it. That's what life is. You just have to accept it. You have to take responsibility for how you feel, and realize that what you feel is literally what you'll become. You know, karma is a massive thing in Buddhism, where you know, cause and effect, like in the smallest, you know, things. Like if you use too much water, then the water will go cold. Like, I think that when you go to psychologists and that, they often try and fix the root of the problem, rather than teaching you like how to literally live with suffering, because you need to know that life is suffering, and you can't just sit around feeling sorry for yourself because, you know, you've got this issue, when every single person is dealing with life and their issue is no greater than yours, you know. Like, it's just, that was just the biggest relief for me. And I don't really know if that makes sense to someone on the outside, but if you're, you know, feeling the same, that blaming people no longer helps, then definitely try realizing that it's actually no one's fault, and it's actually just life, that life is suffering. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner you're going to feel lighter. And it's definitely what you resist persists. So if you just keep saying, you know, I'm just gonna work on getting rid of suffering out of my life, people will try and do things that's going to make them feel better, because they're going to get rid of suffering. They're going to get a boyfriend to make them feel happier. They're going to buy this to make them feel happier, when nothing's going to make you feel happier. If you just accept that suffering is life and learn how to deal with that, that's what makes you happier. So that was probably the biggest thing. It's kind of hard to explain why it's affected me so much when I haven't obviously laid out my whole life story to you guys. But I just want to talk about a little bit about, I guess, how it like literally mentally and physically changed me as a person. And then I want to just give a couple of basic teachings of Buddhism for people who aren't sure, just so they can have a bit more of an understanding. Anyone who's watching this that knew me in high school would know that I was a very bitter, shy, anxious, angry, full of hate. I was just a fragile person who was going through a lot, and probably didn't deal with it in the best ways. But that made me a very heavy person, I guess is a way to explain it. Actually, you know, when I realized that I can't keep dwelling on the things that had ruined my life at the time, I just felt like 100 kilos lighter. Like, literally, I'm just a more kind person. I'm probably kept more to myself now, and sometimes, you know, I have a short fuse. So if something really, really, really upsets me and someone disrespects me, I'm not afraid to tell them how it is. Probably not a good thing sometimes. You know, that used to be me every minute. I would just, you know, I had so much hate for the world. So it's literally made me a more lighter, more happier person. And I honestly, you know, was happy for my whole high school. I thought that I needed to be with someone to be happy. Literally, like, I was just obsessed with being in a happy relationship, you know, being accepted. And that comes a lot from the things I dealt with as a child. But once I became a Buddhist, I literally didn't care. I was happy on my own. I was researching, I was loving, you know. And then I met Max. I wasn't looking, you know. I wasn't on Tinder trying to find Max, trying to find my boyfriend. He literally just came to me, and I honestly 150% believe that that was because my true self came out, and that's when I was able to find the one for me. And a lot of the Buddhist practices is meditation, and you need to actually work on yourself and your mind. And you know, that's what I love about it, is I'm not worshipping the Buddha. I don't have this statue here to come and worship him. I have it here to remind me to worship my body and to work on myself, to aim to be as peaceful as him. Like, do you not look at this statue and just want to feel happy and peaceful? I'm losing my voice because I'm talking so much, but I think that's just really the most important thing, is that I can feel at peace in myself now, and I can, you know, work on ways to deal with my issues and to learn to live with them. Is that I can actually learn to deal with my problems, step away from these feelings, because I'm not those feelings. I don't need to fix them. I just need to deal with how to move away from them. So if you're also someone who's dealing with depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, anything like that, you don't need to become a Buddhist, but meditation is just, oh my god, it will literally save your life. But I just wanted to talk about a couple of the basic things. Now I have it in front of me so that I don't tell you the wrong stuff. So the main purpose of Buddhism is to lead a moral life, is to be mindful and aware of thoughts and actions, and to develop wisdom and understanding. Basic things of Buddhism are the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the 5 Precepts. So, you know, that's something that you need to research yourself, but a massive philosophy of Buddhism is to end suffering for all creatures. So you're not just being a Buddhist to help yourself, you're being a Buddhist to help the world. So the 5 precepts are that you will not take the life of anything living. You do not take anything that is not freely given. You must abstain from sexual misconduct and sensual overindulgence. Refrain from untruth speech, and to avoid intoxication / losing mindfulness. So the books that I've read, I read the Why Buddhism by Vicky Mackenzie first, so that's the stories of Buddhism in the Western culture. Buddhism for Busy People was the next book I read by David Mishi. That has a little bit more of kind of the basic understanding, so teaching about the Noble Truth, the Eightfold Path, just basic Buddhist history and how you can incorporate it into your busy lifestyle in the West. So the next one I read is Why Mindfulness is Better Than Chocolate, also by David Mishi, and read The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. Great book. I read a few books by Pema Gordon. I have one here, The Pocket. I now am reading Going to Pieces Without Falling Apart by Mark Epstein, and I really love this so far. It says here the Buddhist perspective on wholeness, lessons from meditation and psychotherapy. I just think that, you know, Buddhism, it doesn't need to be a religion. You can research it and learn about the values and just incorporate it into your daily life. I think that there's a lot of greatness that can be found in it, and yeah, I know that it changed my life. So basically I just try and live my life in a way of compassion towards others, to not be judgmental, to treat my body as a temple. Yeah, I hope this kind of answered some of your questions. I'm sorry if it was all over the place, but I just kind of wanted to give my understanding and kind of share my relief with you. Like, you'll never understand the relief I felt when I finally wasn't being told to blame someone for my actions. Or my problems, I was just being told just to accept it, you know, and it literally gets so much lighter when you just accept something and you accept life as suffering and you work out how to make that suffering happiness. Anyways, I'll try and link all the books down below, or at least put the names and authors down below. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and if you're excited for mindfulness and for a better world, a more compassionate world, because I know I am. But anyways guys, thank you so much for watching, and I just want to thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers, or almost. I don't know whether I'll have it. I think I need 7 more at this stage while I'm filming this. So thank you in advance, or thank you afterwards, for 1,000 subscribers. You guys are the best. I love you so much, and thank you for listening to my story. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Bye.